Boom, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you, wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. This is, of course, the positional preview that I've been doing every single year. I tried to get to every position. I think last year I did, which was an awesome feat just for me personally. It's not as easy as you might think to find the time sometimes to make these videos, but you guys are like, man, why do you even do this if you struggle so much to find the time? And that's a fair point. That's a fair point. But we're going to be doing the positional preview. By the way, I hope you guys had a solid 4th of July. Thank you to all the individuals who have served for this country in some capacity, especially those of you who have laid the ultimate sacrifice down for our freedom. I truly thank you. My father served in the Air Force, retired as a senior master sergeant, and so I just wanted to say thank you, and I tip my hat off to you guys uh, unwaveringly. So the position group that I want to start off with is the running back group. I kind of just go off of like whatever group kind of when I know I'm going to make the video, whatever group kind of gives me some excitement. For some groups, that's not always the case, but the running back group I am excited about, and to be fair, I was excited about them last year. Um, this group is interesting because they're losing one of the best running backs that the University of Iowa has ever seen, who put together one of the best seasons that the Big Ten has ever seen. I would have to look nationally to see if it's one of the best seasons, individual seasons nationally. It's probably up there. I mean, but again, I would have to see. But I know in the Big Ten, it's up there, especially with the amount of touchdowns that he scored. It'll be interesting to see also just on a more meta level, looking outwardly to Tim Lester and his offense and uh, what he's trying to accomplish if he's able to replicate in year two close to the on the ground success that we saw from him in year one. So when you talk about this group, I think you obviously have to start with some of the key guys, and that's Josiah Patterson and Kamari Moulton. I've been a big fan of Kamari Moulton for a long time. Even when Iowa landed him as kind of a last ditch effort, they swung and missed on quite a few running back targets. It just goes to show, like, recruiting and landing a guy or not landing a guy is not the end all be all. You never truly know what they are going to become when they get to the college level. And, Kamari Moulton was a point guard and a point guard who also played football. He obviously had the athleticism, but he was very skinny. But he was able to utilize his vision that he had as a point guard and put that towards the gridiron. And we've seen him add some much needed weight, and he 1000% looks like a Big Ten tailback now. Um, I also think him being a smaller back also kind of, at least initially in his career, allowed him to be kind of a more all-purpose back who could catch balls from the quarterback and could also, put his head down and run through some guys. Not necessarily like a full-blown Caleb Johnson who, the moment that he arrives on campus is a Big Ten caliber running back with the physique and size, 6'1", 200 plus pounds, soaking wet. Um, not to say that Caleb Johnson it could not catch the football. He could and can, but still, guys like that are going to get more opportunities on the ground than a guy like Kamari Moulton, who might be a little bit more shifty, a little bit undersized, and you can utilize them in the passing game. Um, so I'm very excited about Kamari Moulton. I'm going to say at the end of the video what my expectations are, where I kind of see this group in the Big Ten. I did review an article a while back that ranked all the position groups, and I detailed where each position group for Iowa ranked in the ratings. Let me see actually if I can find that. So yeah, it was Athlon Sports, and they ranked running back seven. It was from Athlon Sports, and I don't know if I'm repeating this based on the recording. Sorry, guys, if I am. But they rank Iowa seventh in the Big Ten. Now, I believe I said that that was a little bit low, especially looking at some of the other positions like quarterback. But how you rank quarterback versus running back is different because when it comes to the quarterback room, it's primarily going to be on your starting quarterback. That's going to be the bulk of the ranking there. But so, anyways, Iowa is seventh. Moving on, you do have Josiah Patterson as well, who's been in Iowa's system for a little while now, and has had varied levels of success. I've always liked his vision. He runs hard, he runs aggressively, and I am excited to see what he can do in a bigger role. Now, he is going to have to hold down that role as there will be individuals behind him that will be nipping at his heels to take on larger roles and yeah, and stay healthy, of course. And yes, of course, Iowa does have a running back by committee approach. I would say if you look at it broadly speaking for the season on average, unless of course they have a Caleb Johnson. And by the way, guys, here is Kamari Moulton's stats in his true freshman season. I don't think he ended up redshirting that game. I'd have to look at his game log, but he had 93 yards on 27 carries, two touchdowns. In last year, 2024, 84 carries for 473 yards with a 5.6 average, which is pretty dang good. Pretty good. With three touchdowns and a long of a 68. So that is solid. Game log. So this was 2024. Wonder if we can find. So that was last year. Let's see what he had in 2023. So he did play one, two, three, four. So he actually might still be a red shirt. He might be going into. So last year would have been his red shirt freshman year. He might be a red shirt sophomore going into next year because yeah, he's still labeled a freshman on ESPN. So going into next year, he'd be a redshirt sophomore. So, that's good news for Iowa. I mean, they have such a young running back that already seems like kind of like a veteran running back in a lot of ways. And he's fresh, based on kind of how late he came to the game of football. Sometimes you get kind of worried with the running back room that they've already had a ton of wear and tear on the body. Now, nowadays, I don't think it's as much as like in the 1980s or 1990s, but still. So not bad. He almost broke 500 yards. I think before the season, I said if he could get close to 500 yards, I would consider that a successful season for him. And I do consider it a successful year. He emerged as the number one running back last year, which is great. Honestly, guys, if you really think about it, that is crazy. Not because it's an indictment on his talent or lack thereof, but just considering what Caleb Johnson became. Now, Of course, Iowa does weird things. Kirk Ferentz does weird things with sitting guys and things like that. Caleb Johnson, if I remember correctly, was suspended for a half of football for something I can't I can't even remember anymore. Um, there was a reason why Kamari Moulton was listed as the starter, and he maintained it for about a week and a half. And but Caleb Johnson had emerged from numero uno day one, and Iowa handed the reins back to him. But just thinking about it, like once the season was complete. I mean, even halfway through the year, I had said this during the season to think that Caleb Johnson was this talented throughout the year, and we saw his actual production. And did Iowa not see that? Is that why? Because even if he was suspended, like they still felt comfortable with Kamari Moulton being number one. Or was Kamari Moulton just that good? Was Kamari Moulton legitimately better by and large in the practices leading up to the season? Which one was it? Was Iowa utilizing it as a motivational tactic for Caleb Johnson? I don't know. Only the Iowa coaching staff knows. It's probably a combination of all of them. Kamari Moulton, we had heard that he was having a really good offseason, had bulked up, was running hard, running really well. Liddell Betts was singing his praises. Um, Caleb Johnson, coming out of an injury riddled year, sophomore season, I believe it was. Uh, People had become a little apathetic towards him. Uh, when known commodities no seemingly don't continuously improve and are not taking the huge steps that we think they should take, it can become easy for fans and just observers to kind of go, oh well, it is what it is. We thought Caleb Johnson would be this, but he wasn't, and kind of move on to the next thing, if you will. But I personally, and you guys know this, I always was a big fan of Caleb Johnson. You could just tell the way that he looked physically that this guy had something that Iowa running that uh by and large you don't see in Iowa running backs, that you don't really see in the Big Ten. I mean, the guy just screamed NFL prototypical running back with his size. I mean, you can't teach that. And that guy had it from day one, a thick lower half, chiseled, 6'1". So I was always um uh big on his upside. But so anyways, it's just interesting to think about, like, did Iowa not see his talent? Was he not doing good in practices? Because some players are gamers in real games, but in practices they're not as good. Um, or did Kamari Moulton just have a magnificent offseason? Like I said, it's probably a combination of all of the above. Him being suspended. Let me look that up real quick just to make sure. Yeah, so here it is. Iowa Hawkeyes running back Caleb Johnson and teammate Josiah Patterson were suspended for the first half of their season opener against Illinois State for violating team rules. So maybe they were late to a team meeting. Um, maybe they had a violation on campus that people didn't know about. Um, the Hawkeyes are going to be a bit shorthanded for the first half running back position in their season opener. It's been reported by Chad Leistokow that running backs Caleb Johnson are going to be and Josiah Patterson are going to be suspended for the first half of the game. Kamari Moulton was already trending upward entering today and sounds like he'll lead the workload to start. The workload in the first half will fall on the shoulders of Kamari Moulton, who has ascended to the top of the depth chart entering his sophomore season. I mean, he was even labeled the starter before this had occurred. I mean, he was put as the number one running back for a decent amount of time leading up to the season. So, anyways, that's that. Um, so it's just very interesting to consider. Josiah Patterson had 309 yards last year. He actually had more yards than I thought he had. This just goes to show how tremendous Iowa's running game was, especially if you look at the running back production. I mean, um, that's 2,000 yards from the running backs right there. 1,500 plus 470. Yeah, yeah, that's 2,000 plus yards production from the running back room right there. And I think if you look at a running back room as a whole, I think a good target number is 2,000 yards. I think a solid year still is about 1,700 to 1,800 from your running back room. However, you get that whether most of it comes from one running back or it comes from a bereavement of running back. Yeah, those three combined for 2,319 yards. All three of them were above 4.5 yards per carry. They had 21, 22, 23, 24, 26 touchdowns from the running backs. And I think, from your running backs, somewhere between 20 to 23, I think is a good number, above average number from your running back room. So again, looking towards next year, Kamari Moulton, Josiah Patterson, solid. Now, and I like both of them. I like the 1-2 punch. I don't think that they're as different as Kamari Moulton and Caleb Johnson are. Um, but by and large, Iowa likes running backs that are aggressive, physical, put their heads down, can run, get the tough yardage, can catch the ball out of the backfield, and that's what you're going to see in these guys. Really, the only guy that is significantly different on the Iowa running back room is Xavier Williams. He is a prototypical bruiser running back, which I will get to momentarily. But past him, you have Terrell Washington Jr., who had 34 yards. So actually, if I add his in there, and there was LaShawn Williams. Um, was LaShawn Williams on the team last year? So actually, if you take into account those guys, Iowa had 2,374 rush yards in 2024, which is not bad. Not bad at all. I mean, that's obviously above average. So you have Terrell Washington Jr., who came to Iowa as a tweener. He was a late get. I detailed this in last year's video. Originally committed to Purdue out of Texas. It was a nice, high 3-star get. Talented out of the state of Texas. Iowa hasn't pulled from the state of Texas as much in recent years as maybe they did in the years prior. It kind of goes in ebbs and flows how much Iowa dips into the state of Texas or not. Um, but they got him late. It worked out for both parties. He needed a home. Iowa was another Big Ten program. They run the ball hard. They were going to have a new offense. Well, I guess maybe at the time he didn't know that they were going to have a new offense coordinator, but still, it worked out for all parties involved. He is kind of a tweener. He could play slot wide receiver. He has some of the traits to be a slot wide receiver. Ultimately, though, I do think kind of like Tyrone Tracy, he is more of a prototypical running back. Um, if you look at kind of how he's built, kind of how he runs, and it seems like Iowa really was only moving him towards wide receiver out of need more so than anything. But they were giving him a legitimate shot to see. So I think going into next year, legitimately, he is going to be considered a running back. I am still going to detail him in the wide receiver room as well as a possibility. But for what it's worth, I think he is going into the year and has been playing this offseason as a running back. He is Iowa's prototypical all-purpose back. Like he is the guy that is the Tyler Goodson type guy, and I actually think Tyler Goodson is a good comp for him. So I like his skill set. Um, Here's Design Patterson, 5'10", 195. Outside of those two, Terrell Washington, 5'11", 206. Similar build to Josiah Patterson. Outside of those guys, you have some of the younger guys. You have Brevin Dahl, who is a speedster. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can provide. He was injured much of last year. We've heard some good things about him. 6 foot, 200 pounds. We'll see how much he can get onto the field. I think it'll depend on the game and need. The problem for him is that Iowa kind of has a few running backs ahead of him that are similar. Now, I think he is faster than all of them. He's probably the fastest running back that Iowa has, but still, um, I think if any of the younger guys are going to see the field, it's most likely not impossible, but for it to be otherwise, but most likely to be a big bruising running back to get some of the tough yards, the short yards, things like that. And Kamari Moulton's at 197. I don't think this has been updated in super recently. Um, so I do think of the younger running backs, Xavier Williams might have a leg up to get some of those carries. He's 5'10", 230 pounds, prototypical big back. Nathan McNeil, from the moment that Iowa landed him, I said it was a great under the radar get. He just went to kind of like a smaller school. Although they do have a lot of talent coming out of Wiregrass Ranch in Tampa, Florida. But he just looks the part. He looks like a legit running back, 5'11", 195. For whatever reason, he went under the radar and Iowa landed him. The some of the recruiting services had him as a high 3-star. Some weren't as comfortable putting him there by not having as much tape and film, but nonetheless. So I'm really high on Nathan McNeil. I think he's a name to watch moving forward. I've said that for months now since Iowa landed him. And yeah, do I think he's going to see the field? Again, it all depends on need. I think at this point there are probably a few guys ahead of him. I mean, he is only a true freshman. I do think Xavier Williams and Brevin Dull probably are still slightly ahead of him, but it's not significant, you know. Um, some other names at the running back position. Actually, I think it's only one name is Braden Jackson. And I actually do want to show you guys him because this was a phenomenal last second get for Iowa. It just really shows how much they stick to it and never stop recruiting and uncovering hidden gems and finding ways to get talent onto their roster however they can. Uh, Sorry guys, and develop it. Whether it be as a walk-on, utilizing connections and legacy recruits, whatever the case may be. So, Braden Jackson, 247 Sports actually had him, and Iowa got him as a preferred walk-on. They actually have him graded as an 88, and that's actually higher than Nathan McNeil. And had other schools not had their classes as filled up, I don't think I think Iowa would have to offer him a scholarship. They may have even just offered him a scholarship had they not already had Nathan McNeil. As you guys can see here, Nathan McNeil, 86. But here is where he at. Oh, they don't have him listed because this is their commitments. But let me go to an instater so you guys can see. Right here, 5'11", 175, 88. Really strong in track. He's a son of former NFL talent Fred Jackson. I think that this is a name to watch. I do. And he looks to have a strong foundation. This is an excellent get for Iowa, and I would not be surprised in the least if this guy gets on scholarship here real soon. He obviously has to make it happen, but for 247 Sports to rate him as an 88, a high 3-star, I think is fairly significant. So those are all the guys. Just to wrap this video up, and but I do think most of his rating is based on his track talent, um, and things like that. Let's see. Let's see what Sean Bach had to say. See if he had anything to say on Braden Jackson. Dang, I totally forgot about Ty Hudkins that Iowa landed from Purdue. Um, I just as a side note, I know this is not what we're talking about, but I really like the talent acquisition that Iowa has coming into this year. I mean, and the talent just overall that they have coming into this season that they've been able to get to Iowa. And I've said to you guys multiple times now, um, and in my video yesterday, you need to look at football, college football now, like the NFL. It's all about talent acquisition and managing your roster and the talent on it. Okay. That is why a lot of programs are now having general managers. So, running back Braden Jackson, it remains a mystery why more schools did not recruit Ankeny Centennial 3-star running back Braden Jackson, the son of former NFL running back Fred Jackson. Fred Jackson was productive this past fall for the Jags, and had 1,397 yards, basically 1,400, averaging 18.1, or excuse me, 8.1 yards per carry, and had 22 rushing tubs, as well as 3 receiving touchdowns and 288 receiving yards. He also returned 2 kickoffs for touchdowns. Jackson is a dynamic talent, and it's going to be fascinating to see how he fits in Iowa's running back room down the line. He could certainly be a number 1 or number 2 option in the running back room for Iowa in the future if he keeps on this path. And he also showcased his speed at the state track meet earlier this month, which makes him feel like even more of a strong bet for this Hawkeyes staff. Now, I completely and utterly agree. So, what are my expectations for this room? Just to kind of close this out. So, I know Athlon Sports ranks this position group as seventh. I think I said that I would have them a little bit higher, maybe sixth or fifth. I think this is a strong group, but that's coming from an Iowa Hawkeye perspective and not knowing a ton about some of these other programs and what they have at in some of these position groups. Okay. Um, Ultimately, though, while Iowa does have some talent at the top that we have seen and we know decently. We don't have the full picture, but we know decently about what they can provide and what they can offer in Josiah Patterson and Kamari Moulton. Now, there still is that, last little bit of what they can do in a bigger, more significant role, so on and so on. I think ultimately this group is going to be as good as Kamari Moulton is, and design and whoever Iowa's top two running backs are. Um, but I do think that they have the pieces behind to kind of have a strong second group of guys that can keep Iowa moving forward on the ground in a productive manner. I'm excited to see some of the younger guys if we can. Brevin Dole, Xavier Williams. Who I really want to see Brevin Dole what he has to offer. He's probably Iowa's highest rated guy coming out of high school, 89, high 3-star. Again, very similar to Braden Jackson in his track talent and track speed and his production on the field, kind of being a Swiss Army knife. Um, so you know, uh, that's that. The production that I'm looking for, and so that's kind of where I would rate them. I'm okay with seventh. I think seventh is fine. That means that they're an above average running back room. Can they? I think ultimately when you say sixth or fifth, you're saying can they become an elite running back room in the Big Ten? One of the top you know handful of teams or groups in the Big Ten. That's the question. Can they take that step forward? I think they can. I do think they have the talent. And obviously, we've seen with Tim Lester that he can propel this unit forward. And Iowa will largely be helped by having one of the best offensive lines in the entire country. So, and sometimes it's hard to gauge how much of it is the running back room versus how much of it is a really talented offensive line group. Um, so that's that. What are my expectations? And by the way, I do think it's also important to note that Iowa did have a change in leadership. Liddell Betts moved on. He went to the NFL, and Omar Young left the NFL to come to Iowa. I think all things being equal, I would like to keep Liddell Betts. He's a younger guy, connected to the University of Iowa. I don't know 100% why he left. Maybe he thought it was a better opportunity, and ultimately that's exactly why he left. Maybe he did not enjoy his time in Iowa the most. Who knows? Um, I would lean towards him thinking it was a better opportunity to add to his resume and things like that. And it was a really good time to leave on the shoulders of Kamari Moulton having such an excellent season. Um, so that'll be something to pay attention to. All reports have been solid for Omar Young. Time will tell how he recruits the position group. I think he should recruit fairly decently, given his connections to the NFL and his knowledge of the NFL. And ultimately, that's where talented running backs want to get to is the NFL. So I think that's important to note. As for production, I think if individually, I think if Kamari Moulton or one of the running backs can, this is what I always say, and it's pretty much the same across the board. These are the numbers that I have in my head. If one, I think it would be Kamari Moulton can get to 1,000 yards, then that would be a successful lead back season. After that, if your number two back can have anywhere from 400 to 800 yards, uh, you know, I think closer to 500 is more realistic, like we saw from Kamari Moulton. That means that you had a successful year as a team running the football when your second guy is able to do that. Um, and then after that, if one guy can have 150 to 200 yards, and you have some contributions elsewhere in their limited reps, but a bulk of your production is going to come from the lead back, and I think if Iowa can get there, that will be solid individually. If Josiah Patterson, whoever Iowa's second back can get anywhere from 4 to 800, preferably 500, that would be sweet. And I think that that's more realistic than last year, considering Caleb Johnson was so talented that he got so many carries. I think this year it's going to be a little bit more balanced. So I think it's more likely that it's, you know, 500 and above for the second guy, rather than being a little bit below 500 like Kamari Moulton was. As a unit, like I said, if as a unit, I think 2,000 is a good mark to hope for. That's really really solid, really good. That means your running backs, your run game was stupendous. You're one of the top 10 run games in the country. Um, I think as a team, you should shoot for 15, definitely above 1,500 yards, probably preferably in the 1,800 mark. Again, last year, Iowa's running backs totaled 2,374. So I think 1,800, it means that you were solid, good, as a unit. And I think, as a unit, if you can have you hit the 20 touchdown mark, that would be solid. So that's kind of my expectations, guys. I'm excited for the running back room and to see some of these newer faces. Caleb Johnson, obviously a lot of us had seen him over the last couple of years, and it's gonna be good to see every now and again these position groups really do kind of see these new faces, new names start to emerge. As some of the more established guys graduate and move on. So overall, I think the talent is there in the room. I think the closest thing at this point to a Caleb Johnson physically would probably be Kamari Moulton. I know Xavier Williams is a big guy, but I don't see him in the same light as a Caleb Johnson physically as yet. Doesn't mean he can't get there in like the men amongst boys, chiseled, just shredded, type talent. I don't know if he's there yet. He's still a younger guy in the group, so. I would say Kamari Moulton physically, he's done really well in the weight room. We'll see what some of these other guys look like. He is a little bit shorter in stature, but that doesn't mean that you can't be physically imposing. I mean, we've seen running backs throughout the year that are shorter, but just look like wrecking balls because of how muscular they are. So we'll see. But I'm optimistic about this group. And I like what this group has as a foundation going into the season. And ultimately, they're going to be able to lean on a solid offensive line to get them through some of the maybe hiccups early in the season. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share. You guys know the drill. I got some great videos coming up for you guys. I'm not going to say I don't want people to copy them, but hope you guys are on the lookout for that. Let's get this channel to 2,000 subscribers. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow and facts or feelings because your feelings just matter. Love you, Hawk fans. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Iowa positional preview for the 2025-2026 football season. Running back room. Thank you guys. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. Facts or feelings because your feelings just don't matter. Go Hawks. Bye bye.